Hi everyone, Katja here, and today I am looking forward to sharing something special with you. A haul that you recommended. A huge thank you to everyone who dropped suggestions in the comments on my videos. I absolutely love hearing your recommendations, and I've picked up what sound like some fantastic reads, all because of you. Now, I must admit, I could have made this a lot easier on myself if I had been more organized and collected suggestions as and when they came in, but instead, I was a step behind and I had to look back over past comments this year, and I hope that I found them all. So, first up, we have Taras Bulba by Nikolai Gogol, recommended by Mark Lawrence. Now, I borrowed this one from my local library through the Libby app. It's the first time I'm using the app, so hopefully it's straightforward. I've definitely figured out how to borrow it. We'll see. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to immersing myself in this classic tale of Cossack warriors. From what I've heard, it's a gripping, adventurous story filled with battles, loyalty, and betrayal. So thank you, Mark, for putting this on my radar. Then we have Uklimka7251, who suggested two books: Twilight Years by Sawako Ariyoshi and Masks by Fumiko Enchi, which I picked up in Cambridge during my bookshop tour. Now, while I couldn't track down Twilight Years, which is proving elusive even in second-hand online shops, I think this one sounds like a really elegant, scandalous tale of sexual deception and manipulation, and it's woven with no drama themes, no NOH, not no well, whatever. Anyway, the story centers on a widow, her manipulative mother in law, and the two men who love the widow. So I'm really intrigued, and I quite like that it's a short book. Hey, Milo. Are you going to squeak your monkey? And then NJ5087 recommended Venom and The Understory by Saneh Sangsuk. After watching my Discover Your New Favorite with 40 mini book reviews, in which I requested recommendations of Thai authors. Now, I couldn't find Venom, but I did pick up The Understory on my Kindle. It's a novel that reflects on a man's relationship with nature and power, all through the tales of a lovable, yarn spinning monk. I'm expecting some rich storytelling here, especially with the abbot being 93 years old and said to be a treasure trove of stories. So thank you, NJ. Now, The Exiled Soul gave me two fantastic recommendations: An Unnecessary Woman by Rabih Alameddine and A Start in Life by Anita Brookner. These novels couldn't sound more different, but they both sound like deep dives into the lives of women reflecting on personal choices and their past. So, An Unnecessary Woman is set in Beirut and follows Alia, a reclusive woman who spends her days translating books into Arabic, which she then stores away never to be read. The novel is said to be a love story to literature, offering a poignant look at isolation, art, and the passage of time, all set against Beirut's complex history. Meanwhile, A Start in Life by Anita Brookner takes place in London and Paris, with Ruth Weiss as a scholar who's reflecting on her life, trying to make sense of her relationships and choices. It sounds very introspective, exploring themes of literature, loneliness, and searching for meaning. I think both novels sound like character studies, and they're set in very different worlds, one in bustling Beirut and the other in London and Paris, which I guess are also bustling, but very different settings. I'm really excited to dive into both of these. So thank you, Exiled Soul, for such thoughtful picks. And they're also books that I haven't seen other people recommend. So yeah, I'm really looking forward. Then Lee Kempter brought up Three Musketeers by Dumas. Now, this swashbuckling adventure follows D'Artagnan and his legendary musketeer friends Athos, Porthos, and Aramis, all of whom I know from various adaptations of the Three Musketeers on film, but I've never actually read the book. I don't think, anyway. I'm planning to read this classic next year, but first, this December, I'll be reading The Count of Monte Cristo, another masterpiece by Dumas. And both are available via Project Gutenberg, so thank you, Lee, for reminding me of these timeless classics. Book In with Deborah recommended The Island of Sea Women by Lisa C., which I already read and loved. So you can check out my review of that along with her book Lady Tan's Circle of Women, which I also reviewed on this channel. However, I haven't yet read The Tea Girl of Hummingbird Lane, which Deborah had mentioned that she was going to be reading. So I've added that one to my list. It's set in a remote village in China and tells the story of Li Yan, a young woman challenging her community's customs. The novel explores generational ties, the global tea trade, and the journey of mother and daughter, and how that shapes their worlds. I'm really looking forward to this one as I'm finding myself really drawn to literature set in China again. I had gone through a phase of reading quite a bit of that literature, like Three Swans, for example, all really deep in the history and different phases that China has gone through. But more recently, I've been reading sort of like modern Chinese history, sort of like from the 1980s coming up to the present day, all in the form of the Inspector Chen mystery books. So I'm on book number 9, and I've really enjoyed exploring how things have been changing. We've got the immediate impact of the Cultural Revolution. Then we've got where Maoism is sort of on the decline, and how we're now coming into the rapid transformation of bigger cities in China. And I really enjoyed that, especially because it's coinciding with some of the YouTube videos that I'm watching coming out from Chinese influencers like Little Chinese Everywhere, a channel that I highly recommend if you're interested in learning about Chinese culture. Now, Deborah hasn't been posting lately on her BookTube channel, but do check out her past videos. Next, I've also got another BookTuber's suggestions, Olivia's Catastrophe. She suggested The Hour of the Star by Clarice Lispector, and I've heard so much about Lispector's unique style. And while I enjoyed one of her short stories from the Penguin Modern Classics box set, I wasn't so keen on the others, not very sure of the Fever Dream style. Still, Olivia's love for this novella about a typist in Rio piqued my interest. It sounds like an intriguing exploration of identity and fate. So thank you, Olivia. And also a quick shout out to a channel that loves Clarice Lispector, the Codex Cantina. They frequently recommend Lispector. And speaking of them, I picked up another one of their favorite authors or authors that they love, and that is Jorge Luis Borges, and I hope I've said that right. Labyrinths. So hopefully this is going to hit the spot. I came across it while I was on my bookshop tour of Norwich and picked it up just for £3. So it's an absolute bargain from a bookshop called Tombland Bookshops, and it's set in this sort of like 15th century old building. It is just, yeah, it was just brilliant. So got that one. And at the risk of going off on tangent, speaking of sort of like fever dream quality narratives, the reason that I'm trying them out is because there is an author who I felt did it really well, and that was Leonora Carrington with The Hearing Trumpet. It was just such an off the wall sort of experience reading that. And more recently, a book that I've got to review soon, and it's an older book by Yuko Tsushima, and it is Territory of Light, and that has a bit of a fever dream quality to it. It is quite realistic as a book, but there are certain aspects in the way that she uses the symbolism of light in that story. So, yeah, I found myself thinking, actually, I'll give them a try. I'll give Lispector a go. So then we have Reading Movies, who suggested The Sense of an Ending by Julian Barnes. after watching my video, Why We Love Unreliable Narrators. And this is a Booker Prize winning novel exploring how we construct our own narratives as Tony Webster is forced to confront his past through a mysterious bequest. Now, I went with the audiobook format, which is narrated by Richard Morant. Unstoppable recommended The Lost Steps, which I found on a recent bookshop tour again. Still in Cambridge, so I think I mentioned that bookshop tour. Magical realist novel, and I do like magical realism, following a disillusioned composer escaping his life in New York to explore the untouched jungles of South America. It sounds like a journey of self-discovery, and I'm looking forward to diving into what sound like rich, complex layers. So thank you for that recommendation. Now, Joe Smith 5992 knows my love for Korean literature and shared two South Korean novels with me, Love in the Big City by Sung Young Park and Bluebeard's First Wife by Ha Seong Nan. And I've already picked up this one. I had it for a couple of years actually, and I need to bump it to the top of my reading list. So this is the only book that I've mentioned that I won't be reading in 2025, but I'll be reading this year. This edition, translated by Anton Her and brought to us by Tilted Access Press, is a long-listed International Booker Prize book 2022. And this year, the first half of it, or the first part of it, titled Jahi, is being or has been adapted for screen and is out, I think, on the 3rd of October. So I'm hoping that I can get to see this film. It's unlikely to be shown in my local cinema. So if you do love this book, look out for it in your cinemas. Perhaps you're a bit luckier. I'll try and find a way to find the adaptation. But first, of course, I have to read the book. So thank you, Joe, for the amazing recommendations. Now, talking of Love in the Big City, I originally got this edition a couple of years ago, as I mentioned, and was part of 2 years worth of box sets that I bought from Tilted Access Press to support them. They've done so much good work in bringing us translated stories from authors and translators we might not otherwise have discovered. But sadly, they're struggling financially. That's Tilted Access Press. They've launched a crowdfunder. So if you can, please do consider donating or buying their books to support them. So far, they've raised 10% of their goal. Yeah, so those are the books. I think you can agree they sound amazing. And I just want to say thank you to everyone for supporting this channel and for broadening my reading horizons. I really appreciate the recommendations. Do let me know if any of these books are books that you'd be interested in buddy reading with me. And also let me know if some of these you've read and what you think of them. Now, I'll be reading all of them next year, as I mentioned. So if you're buddy reading, then it's a 2025 buddy read, except for this one, which will be in October. So you'd need to be ready to read it sooner because I'm looking forward to diving in finally after putting it off so often. Well, that's it. Thank you so much for joining me for this video, and I'll see you in the next. Take care. Was it boring listening to me on the camera? Do you want to go walk instead? Ooh.